Okay, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, or whatever time it is, no matter where you are. What I'm going to talk to you about now, it's afternoon where I'm talking, what I'm going to discuss now is how to cite state statutes, how to cite federal statutes, and how to cite constitutions. My preferred citation manual of choice is the Indigo Book, so what you should see on your screen here is just the Indigo Book, which is available online. I'm going to scroll down a little bit here and you'll notice that the Indigo Book is available in both an HTML version, in other words on the internet, and also in a PDF format. I'm going to pull up the PDF here in a second, but the nice thing about the Indigo Book is, as you can see here, it's open source. The authors have not taken any copyright, and so it's portable and it's really a user-friendly thing to use. For a lot of reasons, but maybe the best reason is it's free, and we can use it. Okay, so I'm going to pull up the PDF here. So this is just the Indigo Book. I've got it in my PDF reader of choice. And you'll notice on this left side of the screen, there are bookmarks. So I just went to View. I hit the Navigation tab, or actually Document. Where do I want to find? Bookmarks, Control B. Okay, so if you've got a good PDF viewer, you should be able to pull up these bookmarks. So this is going to make it really easy for you to navigate through the Indigo Book. And this is my preferred way to do it when I'm looking up rules. And today we're going to talk about statutes. Okay, so that's going to be section C here. Statutes, rules, regulation, and other legislative and administrative materials. So we're going to start by looking at federal statutes. So Part C, statutes, rules, regulations, and other legislative and administrative materials. So Rule 16 is going to walk us through how to cite federal statutes. And it's going to start by giving you the basic citation form, Rule 16.1. So a full citation to a federal statute includes three things: the official name of that statute, the published source where that act may be found, and an indication of either the source of publication date or the year that statute was passed. Okay. Rule 16.1.2 gives you that same thing right here. Maybe I'll make this a little bit bigger to make sure that everybody can see it nice and clean. So for the U.S. Code, you're going to write the name of the statute, if you want, the title, USC, and then the section number, and then the year that statute's published. The United States Code is codified once every 6 years, so citations to the U.S. Code should be to the appropriate codifying year: 2000, 2006, 2012, 2018, 2024, 2030, what have you. Supplements, you might cite to a supplement in some cases as well. Now, citing to the U.S. Code is dead simple. Most of us, though, don't just pull up the U.S. Code. A lot of us, when we're doing legislative research, we're going to look up our statutes under either Lexis or Westlaw. And so Rule 16.1.3 is going to tell us how to cite to annotated versions of the code. Remember, an annotated version of the code is one with extra stuff. So it's going to include an accurate version of the statute itself, but it's also going to include a great deal of helper material. References to cases, references to secondary sources. And so it's a really, really helpful tool. And so whenever we're starting off with a statute and doing statutory research, we always want to try, if we can, to find that annotated version of the code. So they've got three listed here. So the list of the common unofficial codes is United States Code Annotated, published by West, United States Code Service, published by LexisNexis, And then gold, United States Code unannotated, which is something you may not come across quite as often. And so here's a couple of examples. We're going to cite the Stored Communications Act. You write that. That's at 18, Title 18, United States Code annotated. Sections, so if you put two section signs together, that means it's multiple sections. 2701 to 2711, West, the year 2000. We're going to talk about what's going to go in this parentheses here in a minute. Okay. Pinpoint cites cite to the section number or specific part of the code that you're going to want. So just like you pinpoint cited your cases, you're of course going to want to pinpoint cite your statutes. In some cases, you might want the official session laws if you want to cite to that, if you're doing maybe a deep dive or a really intense discussion of some legislation. For most memos, for most briefs, you're not going to be, in all likelihood, citing to those session laws. So I'm going to kind of zip through that here for a second. Let me back up here. So in these annotated versions of the code, right? Okay, in this parentheses, I alluded to this a minute ago. So you've got the name of the publisher and the year that that statute is published. So if you're looking up on West or you're looking up on Lexis, you're going to always be able to find on a statute what that is current to. Okay, and oftentimes it's going to be the current year. Okay, so you're going to write the current year, the year whenever it is that you're writing your memo in that parentheses. So if I've got a recent version of, let's say, the Stored Communications Act, I would be writing West and in the current year. When I'm giving this talk, it is 2020, so I'd write West 2020 in the parentheses. And that, in a nutshell, is how you're going to cite the federal statutes. It's really quite simple. The only trick there is knowing the difference between the United States Code, which is the official version of the code that does not have annotations, and then those other two versions of the code that you'll most often come across. The Code Annotated, published by West, and the United States Code Service, published by LexisNexis. The next thing that we're going to talk about then is I'm going to scroll down and look at state statutes. Okay, so state statutes is Rule 17. And so you should cite state statutes to the official codes if at all possible. State code compilations are ranked by order of preference in our helpful table, Table T3. The elements of a cite for a state code will include the name of the code, abbreviated, section number, and then the year published. So here's a couple examples of that. Alabama Code Section 13A-12-5-A1. A person commits the offense of unlawful bear exploitation if he or she knowingly promotes, engages, or is employed at a bear wrestling match. Good for you if you've ever been to a bear wrestling match. I can't say that I've been able to check that one off just yet. Here's another one from New York. New York Arts and Cultural Affairs Law, Section 60.03. McKinney is the publisher from 2000, and that prohibits the sale of knowingly forged sports personality autographs. The Indigo Inkling here. So the Indigo Book gives us lots of nice, helpful tools in the purple boxes. And here's a useful one. Don't worry about the year that your statute was passed. The only year that's going to matter is the addition of the code or the publication date of the volume containing the statute. And that's really helpful advice. So Rule 18 walks you through rules of procedure and evidence. Rule 19 walks you through administrative rules and regulations. Rule 20 is going to walk you through federal tax materials. Rule 21 is going to walk you through how to cite legislative history and other legislative materials. What I want to focus on now is Rule 22, short form cites for legislative and administrative materials. The good thing about short cites is for statutes is you can kind of basically short cite them in any way that makes sense. So Rule 22.1, First time you mention a statute, a rule, a reg, or a legislative material, use the full cite. Okay, that works just the same as cases. Great. For subsequent citations, in the same general discussion, you may use any short form that is clearly going to identify the source. So that is giving you freedom to cite it in any way that makes sense to you, which is very nice, and we will take that freedom and run with it. Rule 22.3 tells you how to use id. Okay, and id works for statutes just like it works for cases and anything else. If you're citing to the same provision, just a plain old id is what you need. If you're going to move to a slightly different section number, you just put id section and then your new section number that you're walking to or directing the reader's attention to. Last but not least, let's talk about the Constitution. So Rule 23 tells us how to cite the Constitution. Citations to the United States Constitution follow a simple form, and that's given right here. It's abbreviated USCONST, short for Constitution. The cited section of the Constitution, abbreviated. The number of article or amendment in a Roman numeral form, section, and then a pinpoint if you need it. And then some additional information in a parenthetical. And citations to state constitutions are expressed in the same way, substitute the U.S., of course, with the abbreviated name of the state. And you'll use our helpful tables T12 and table T13 to find those abbreviations. Here's a few examples of constitutions that are cited. U.S. Const. Amendment 13, Section 1, which abolished slavery in the United States. There's some others. If you want to cite to the 18th Amendment here, or the preamble, and then here's an example of the Arizona Constitution being cited. Here's a helpful tip from the Indigo Book authors. Perhaps because the Constitution is considered capital I important, they should never be expressed in the short form, except for id. And that's good advice. So if you are ever citing a constitution or a constitutional principle, that's as high of an authority as we can basically get as American attorneys. And so if you're citing to the Constitution, you don't really want to short form it anyway. You want to just keep referencing back to that provision of the Constitution that's supporting your principle. Okay, so that is a quick discussion of how you're going to want to cite federal statutes, state statutes, and constitutions. So I've just walked you through the Indigo Book rules that tell you how to do that. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. If you have any questions at all, please do reach out. Happy writing, and keep up the good work.